Welcome back to more Demon Souls in Design, and we're going to do World 3 today, Tower of Latria. So let's read the archstone on this. Oh, wait a second. Patches is in the Nexus.
Well, I remember you. I'm glad I found you. I found some really nice trinkets. Well, we've been long acquainted, so I'm willing to part with them at a special price. But only if you buy today.
So just like Dark Souls, if you forgive Patches, he does become an NPC merchant and one of the better ones in the game.
Nothing here is stolen. I swear. I no longer partake in the whole corpse robbing thing. Yeah, no, I'm completely free from my vice. My old mother would be proud indeed. Aren't you proud of me too?
That line of dialogue right there, when he references his mother, is why a lot of people think the old lady in World 5 is his mother, because she also mentions her son, so that's where people get that connection.
Now, you see that priest and his disciples over there? They still don't trust me after that little incident behind the altar. Shouldn't they believe in forgiving and forgetting and all that? Well, I have news for them. Praying has not put food in my mouth, nor anyone else's.
So multiple interesting things there. A little, again, more social commentary, political commentary with him criticizing religion. And also that's where some people have the theory that all the Demon Souls, all Dark Souls, and Bloodborne are actually connected. So in Dark Souls, especially Dark Souls 1, Patches criticizes priests and clerics, and in this game, there's motivation that could build to that. So you could think that in Demon Souls, Patches that's where he develops his hatred of clerics. Again, that's not official, but that is where some people get that from. And it's kind of interesting, a little fan theory to think about. So we will just buy some full moon grass and we'll be on our way.
Nice stuff, eh? Come again. Then I'll be awaiting.
Alright, let's do World 3, Tower of Latria. Touch arsenal of the Tower Queen. Tower of Latria, land of the Queen's ivory tower. An old man took revenge on the Queen by locking her family in a prison with inhuman guards. All that escapes the place are the prisoner's cries. So, it's a place that was turned into a prison by basically taken over by the main boss of this area. So the first thing is, there's a lot of similarities between this area and an area in Dark Souls 3 called Ithral Dungeon. The similarities are pretty obvious. You can just kind of tell by looking at it. So it's another part of a future Souls game where they brought back an old idea and kind of reused it and updated it. But there are some differences that we'll note. Also, the enemies in here are very Lovecraftian, and there's a very similar enemy in Bloodborne. So there's already Lovecraftian influences in Demon Souls and other FromSoftware projects before Bloodborne. And there it is. They're called Mind Flayers. It's, they have a octopus-like head, very similar to the Brain Suckers in Bloodborne. But unlike the Brain Suckers in Bloodborne, these guys are very easy to sneak up on. They have magical powers, but they have really bad vision. So that's an interesting weakness they have. They purposely have very bad vision, and it's very easy to get the jump on them, especially with the Thief Ring. So you could almost think of this area like a stealth section. It's not like a stealth mechanic per se, but you definitely can't approach it as a stealth game, and it's actually generally more effective that way. So again, kind of puzzly in nature, rewarding players for learning the mechanics. Not really so much action focused. See, look at that. Look at how long it took him to react to me. They're very slow to see you. It's very easy to get the jump on them. And again, I'm only using a plus... Oh, it actually is +8 longsword, so it's something I should mention. Depending on how the order of which you progress through the levels, certain first areas will be much easier than others. Because, for example, if you do World 2, and then any other world, you're going to have those upgrade materials. So, and how you choose to progress through the game makes a big difference. You can just run around them. And, comparing this to Ithral Dungeon, so it has a very similar setup. It's basically like long hallways, prison structure. These enemies are kind of similar to the jailers, but not quite. But the main difference is, in Ithral Dungeon, there's a lot more enemies going on, a lot more action-based combat. I guess you could say the main difference here is this area is going much more for an atmospheric kind of vibe. You hear the grunts of the enemies in the background. You hear these mind flayers stalking around. You can hear a man screaming, "Help me!" They're really trying to give you the vibe, trying to get you in the right mood for a really kind of almost like a horror-based level. And it really fits with how, like I would say the other levels in the game are more desolate. This one is actually more malicious in how there's like an actual like malevolent intention here. It's not just the aftermath of something. Like this is ongoing suffering, so it's a much more horror based vibe. Where I would say, but the downside of that is, and there it is. That's Lord Rydell screaming for help. The one downside is, though, while this can be very effective, especially on a first playthrough, on repeated playthroughs this level kind of falls down a bit, because, as you can see, not a lot going on right now. Not a lot of enemies, I'm just kind of walking through the hallways. Ithral Dungeon might not have as strong as atmosphere, but it has more actual gameplay going on, more actual challenge. Here, there's long spaces of time where the player is just running through the level, not really doing much. Like, that's not really... Like, that enemy is not intended to be a problem. And now I could explore a lot of these prison cells. It's locked. You can get the key and explore them. And there's some decent items in there. But, again, those are more just for, being rewarded by items. There's no real... There's usually not many obstacles or actually challenges in those cells. I think there's only one of them where there actually is a group of aggressive enemies. Most of the time, something like this happens, and you simply take an item and you leave. Although there are traps, like this, and we get poisoned. But again, that's not really going to kill most players. Oh, and there's a mind flayer. Well, I guess I could say that was a trap. And we are poisoned. And there's this magical attack. We'll retreat and heal. Nope, that was the wrong item, wasn't it? Nope, we're good. Wait, yeah, it was. Well, that's good. Yes, that was a soldier's lotus. That heals bleed, not poison. So, let's actually let this mind flayer do some things so we can actually study what he does, instead of just sneaking up on him. So that attack does no damage, but it paralyzes, allowing him to do a grab attack. And that's his main attack. And it actually has a really big hitbox on it. And let's actually get hit by his paralyzed attack, so we can see how it looks if he would hit me with it. Alright, let's let him hit it. We'll let him hit us. And yeah, this is kind of similar to the Brain Sucker from Bloodborne. They have a paralyzed attack just like the Brain Sucker. They have a grab attack where they suck you, so it's very similar to the Brain Suckers. And there we go. Yeah, a lot of similarities there. Again, both are Lovecraftian inspired kind of creatures. And we get this key, we continue. This level, yeah, I would say it's the type of level where, again, it's very Demon Souls-like in that it's really engaging on a first playthrough, but on repeated playthroughs, it does lose a lot of its edge, because, again, not a lot of gameplay actually going on. Usually one enemy at a time, just kind of basic hallways. But again, the atmosphere is great. I can't deny that. The atmosphere is fantastic. It really is just absolutely deranged and creepy. And we'll try to be stealthy. Look at how easy it is to sneak up on these guys. Oh, and he sees me. Wait, does he? Yeah, they're very easy to sneak up on. Like, I was in front of him. He still did not see me. So we continue through. And there's going to be a shortcut segment up ahead, which is actually an interesting one I like a lot. It's not just another locked door, but it's actually a shortcut through mechanics and gameplay. And that's coming up right in the next couple rooms. And there's a locked door to a door with a key, and a door and a door. A lot of keys, a lot of doors in this level. Again, it's really slow paced, and again, I think that was intentional because they want it to be slow paced to ease you into the environment. But on repeated playthroughs, it does drag a lot. There's not a whole lot of interesting things going on. Into another door. And we see a new enemy here, one you don't see very often in the game. I think there's only like 2 of them. It's just a giant tower of creatures, and it somehow shoots magic. Again, I don't think this enemy is intended to kill you. It's very easy to avoid. It can kill you if you get near it, but I think it's most intended to be creepy, because that is pretty creepy. I don't think it's really intended to be a big threat. Alright, so it just shows us this thing opening up. And as you approach, you see these volley of arrows. But you get the key without getting in the way. Now here's the cool thing about this. It is possible to go right through that by rolling through. And it's actually not that hard. But again, most players are not going to do that. The intended way is to go back. But it is cool that there's a shortcut there that can be bypassed because of player skill. Not because of a hard lock. I really like that, and I'd like to see more stuff like that. That's actually something they've never really done again. I really think that's an interesting idea. It kind of rewards player mastery in repeated playthroughs, and I think that's something that's worthwhile. So I'd like to see more of that in other games or other future FromSoftware games. Because again, even on a first playthrough, it still makes a good moment, but on repeated playthroughs, it adds another layer. And I think that's really cool. And there's a room with actually 2 mind flayers for like the one and only time in this level, but they're still very easy to approach without getting ambushed. Now that's why the bell mechanic these guys have is actually important, because it warns you when they're going to attack. So that way, normally getting hit through this wall would feel really cheap and unfair, but because they always ring the bell beforehand, it actually is fair. That's a good use of sound design in your enemy design to make a mechanic really feel justified. I think, again, that's something that I think should be done more too. Using sound cues, you don't always need visual cues for attacks. Sound cues are also really important. So now this loops back around to the other side of the trap, which lets you deactivate it, which not only creates a shortcut for the next time the player gets to the... if the player dies, this is now a shortcut, which makes the run back not as bad, but you're also rewarded with all these items. So it's, again, a double whammy of reward. Remember in the first level of the game, we talked about how they layer rewards on top of each other. It's another example of that. It's a good way to build a climax of the level. Most players are going to feel really good about finally getting to this moment, getting the shortcut, and getting all these items. That's really how you build up to a climax. It's good level design pacing, you could say. Because if you think about like level design in terms of like a script or like a plot, you know, you have your rising action, then you have your problem, and eventually you want to build up to a climax, and the higher the climax, the better, and that's how you do it. Multiple layered rewards for different reasons. You know, you're getting a reward that safety, that you can get to the boss easier, which is very relieving, but then also rewards that make you feel accomplished, like you got rewarded for your accomplishment. So the Demon Souls is really good about that. Now the reason we're heading down here, because there's a really dirty trick this game played on the player here. So there's an NPC in here who looks like a normal enemy, but he's casting some weird incantation. Now, if you fight the boss, this guy will revive the boss back to full health. You essentially cannot beat the boss if you don't kill this guy. Yeah, I'm serious. So I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just going to kill him, but we will talk to him.
What do you want? I am a humble servant. I do not wish to interfere. I won't cause you trouble. I won't.
So yeah, he's lying through his teeth.
What do you want?
Now, that's why the first time a player might not kill him, even though it looks very suspicious, but I'm pretty sure he actually laughs at you if he revives the boss. So after that, players will know to kill him. But the main problem is most players will come into the boss room without even knowing that this guy is here, because you can't see up here from down there. He's too far away from the ledge. So players won't even realize it's happening. And good riddance. Now we can fight the boss. So yeah, that most players are definitely going to fight Fool's Idol. Defeat her for the first time, but not really. And then have to come back, kill that guy, then fight them again. So kind of, I'm honestly not a big fan of that, because I would say most players aren't going to know about that just because there's not a lot of clues for it. So I will actually say that's not a good way to create a, I don't even know what you call that. It's not really a puzzle. It's not really a trap. It's honestly just kind of a cheap trick. Not really a fan of that. I think that's a little too much. Now, if you want to make a game that really I guess you could say it really feels real, because if this was a real thing, yeah, the world wouldn't have a warning that there's a trap like that. So I guess it can help role-playing make the game feel authentic. But from a gameplay perspective, it's a little much, I would say. So now, there's actually an enemy in stealth down there, but we don't see them, so we're gonna drop down as if we don't know. And yeah, that's another dirty trick. So this enemy is potentially very dangerous. So we have these soul remains things. Let's use them to our advantage. Oh, or maybe not. Yeah, this enemy's pretty tough. Soul remains, they're very effective for that very reason. Really helpful for taking out stronger enemies like this. Because she's still trying to go after those soul remains. Oh. And her weapon does inflict plagues, so that's really dangerous. Got her. Yeah, she's actually one of the more dangerous Black Phantoms. Her crossbow does a lot of damage. And you get a chunk of Moonlight Stone, Stolen Realm for Lies. And now we can fight the boss. So this boss is going to look very similar to a lot of different Souls bosses, mechanically speaking. Alright, let's enter. Very cool visual design, really cool theming with the religious overtones, and there's just a creepy thing about a religious place being corrupted like this, so it's really well done. And we'll now see how this is very similar to a lot of bosses in the rest of the franchise. Another redo, it never ends. That is a message hinting about the guy up there. So there is a developer message about it, but again, it doesn't really explain why or how it happens. Actually, let's see what this one says. They're up above. So that one does. But again, the player probably wouldn't really know what that means at this moment. So let's hit the boss. We do really good damage. But she's going to disappear. And multiply herself. So this is very similar to Pinwheel, who's a teleporting boss who multiplies, who shoots magic. Very similar to Crystal Sage, who multiplies, shoots magic. And just like both of them, there's only one real one, and the rest are basically fake clones. You can tell by which attack she does. See, the one that's the real one shoots the powerful spell, the other ones shoot the weaker spell. And just like those other examples, you can hit the fake one a few times, and it'll disappear. Like that. But unlike those other bosses, she creates traps that she can use to make you vulnerable. And the traps are only visible for a short moment. You're supposed to memorize where they are. So kind of interesting design concept here. But if you do a lot of damage, it makes it a lot easier. But as she gets lower on health, she multiplies more of herself. No, didn't mean to do that. Wasn't the real one anyway. It got shot. See, you can see the traps spawning right there. But then they go invisible, so you have to remember where they are. And the real one's right there, so we could kill her right now. There's really not too much more to say about this boss. It's a cool design. The voice is reviving the idol, so that does another hint to that. But yeah, it's again, if you're familiar with Crystal Sage, Pinwheel, It's a very similar concept. Kill these clones. I would say the main thing about this boss that makes it maybe more interesting, easier but more interesting, is you have more cover. More cover to hide around those columns, but the traps make up for that. So it's actually probably more interesting than Pinwheel, because the location of the fight leads to more nuanced encounters. Like, you actually have to think about using these pillars, getting between these pews. It's, where Pinwheel, you usually just kind of run at him and hit him. There's more going on here. Same thing with Crystal Sage. This environment at least makes it more varied. This is probably still way easier than those fights, just because she doesn't have that much health. She doesn't hit very hard, so on a regular run, it's pretty easy, even if it is a little bit more interesting in design. Especially when you have a +8 weapon. But again, it's a cool... I like the setup of the fight, though. I would have liked maybe a Pinwheel that had a more varied environment like this. Because the environment does make the fight more dynamic in a lot of ways. So now we're going to see another callback to the later Souls games. So that's something that was reused in both Dark Souls 1 and 3. Gargoyle is bringing the player to a new location, usually after a boss battle. So again, that's something that's almost like a tradition in the Souls games. Now let's go back to the Nexus. Got Fool's Idol Soul. 13,000 more souls from the level and the boss. So not bad. I can level up some more. And I think it might be time to do World 5, perhaps. But let's level up. Do we have any regular souls we could use? Yep. Not bad. Level up. Let's see, so what do we want? Let's get some more vitality. Endurance. Oh, we couldn't even get endurance. That's good. Repair. Again, the Nexus always serves as like a hub, like a home.
Yep.
And deposit things we don't need. Okay, so we'll deposit the black leather armor, the leather set. It's actually a good set, but we'll just stick with what we started the game with. You never save certain your bane. Okay, so let's check out World 5. I think it's time for that. Yeah, let's do the first level of World 5. Valley of Defilement. This damn valley is the resting place for those who have been thrown away. Overtaken by poison and plague, dwellers attack anyone who wanders in the valley, hoping to offer souls to the woman who showed compassion. Interesting, so they feel like they're defending some woman who showed them compassion. So immediately anyone who's familiar with Dark Souls 1 is going to recognize this place. Blighttown is a direct, basically a straight-up remake of the Valley of Defilement that we're about to enter. And it's going to be more apparent as we progress through it. Also, the gutter in Black Gulch from Dark Souls 2 are very thematically similar to this place as well. So you could say that Dark Souls 1 and 2 both have sort of recreations of this. Dark Souls 1's Blighttown is a much closer recreation. The Dark Souls 2 area is a little different, but again, a lot of similarities. So we're going to want some Royal Lotus because this is the poison area of the game. So we're going to want those on the ready. Now, the first big difference you can probably see between this and Blighttown is that the level starts and we're already far up in the air where we could easily die. Where with Blighttown, it's it depends how you enter it. Demon Souls is more linear in how the levels progress. For Blighttown, there's multiple ways you can enter the level, which changes it a lot. But we will see how this progresses. And that's probably the main difference between how level design works in Dark Souls 1, is that it's more open. Demon Souls is more authored. It's more... They really wanted to have a very specific environment that you explore in a specific way. So there's already multiple paths. Let's get that item. But the thing about getting this item is it puts you in a more precarious position while trying to get to this enemy, because you have to break through this and drop down. And he's going to be alerted to that. So again, if you're maybe a more cautious player... Oh, can't go back. So see, there's a drop. Wait, can you... Nope, can't climb. So that makes it a little... Getting that item can put you at a disadvantage. Yep, because he's going to guard that. So it's, you know, nothing crazy there, but it's kind of interesting how they purposely set that up. But we have a shield. Oh, he still got us. Because there is landing recovery right there. Can't block immediately upon landing. Alright, so these guys with the stick that we just saw, the fire stick, they have a lot of range, which can be a big problem. But not if you have a shield. Shields handle that really well. Shields are really good against spear users. And we're going to hit him out of the way. So yeah, right now we're in like a shantytown. This is like the first area of Blighttown before you get to the Poison Swamp. You can kick this to make a bridge to get past that whole area where those enemies are going to try to get you. So this is a spot where these guys with the pole arms can be a big problem, because you're on this narrow passageway and they have a long-range straight attack. Normally you'd run around them, but you can't do that in this narrow pathway. But that's where a shield like that really comes in handy. Talisman of God, used for casting miracles. The Widow's Lotus is for curing plague. We're going to need that later. So we're going to get the drop on these guys. Hit them from behind. And take care of them. So yeah, one thing you're probably already noticing, and it's a big contrast from World 3, and it's why I wanted to do World 5 and World 3 back to back, is this area has a ton of enemies all over the place, where World 3 had very, very few. So the one thing I do like about Demon Souls world design, level design, is how they try to make such a contrast between the different levels and worlds to really make them feel different and unique. Like, we just played a level... We probably already killed more enemies just now in the very opening section of this level than the whole last level combined. And I think that's really cool. I like that. And another set of enemies, narrow passageway. Use our shield. Counterattack with a thrust. This guy gets up. Again, so there's a lot of... Another big thing about this level, the enemies are the traps now. It's not just mechanical traps. The enemies themselves are the traps, and they're everywhere. And if you're paying attention, you can see them on the ground. You can react to them. So again, they're very fair. You can see all of it happening before it happens. If I could hit the enemy. There we go. And these guys are already here. Sometimes they haven't dropped down yet. But it's no problem. Oh, there's another guy. Yeah, the +8 longsword is coming in very handy. Yeah, that's a thing that makes this game much easier. That the open level design structure, where you can go to any 5 levels right from the start, can drastically change the difficulty of different parts of the game. But our level is still relatively low. We're only level 36. It's still pretty low, I would say, all things considered. Nope. Dangerous section. Maybe drop down here with all these enemies. Oh, he's going to see us. Kill him just so he doesn't follow us to the next area. Now we can drop down here. Now you got to be careful dropping there. It's very easy to go too far off the ledge and die. So gravity is a big threat in this level. But again, that's probably why the very start of the level starts facing a cliff. Again, that's kind of player psychology. By having the very start of the level face a cliff, that's a very subtle but effective way of warning the player that, hey, be careful about cliffs in this level. You're at a cliff already. So again, they've done a good job of warning us to be wary when going on ledges. Oh, there's a gecko. Now this is a sneaky gecko, because the point of this gecko is to distract you from this enemy. That's kind of his job, and it can be quite effective. It's basically that gecko is a trap to make the enemies more dangerous. There we go. Shard of Faint Stone, that's for making faith weapons. A lot of items over here, though, which is helpful. Okay, so another plank to knock down. So the reason why there's fog wall here is because there's immediately a bunch of rats in this room. The fog wall actually kind of forces you into a bad position, so it's kind of a sneaky way to do that. But you use back up and you hit them from afar, using the sweeping attack because it hits close to the ground. Strong attack in two hands. Now these rats inflict plague, which can be a big problem, like that, because if you don't have any Widow's Lotus, you're in deep trouble. But that is why there was Widow's Lotus earlier in the level. Plague lowers HP over time like it is now, and it also drains stamina recovery. So let's get rid of that. They're plague-ridden rats. Oh, and there's another one right there. Look at that. Sneaky guy, hiding in the corpses of his friends. Alright, let's heal up. So if we go up here, there's a merchant NPC. Remember when we were talking to Patches?
Won't you buy something? My poor child is hungry. You don't deserve to die. So let me give you some advice. This place is buzzing with pests, fattened on a diet of souls. In order to protect yourself, you must keep a lotus with you. The price of survival can never be too high, can it?
She gives some actual honest advice.
How many years has it been? That witch Estrella came to this valley with that squid-headed knight. Those ridiculous white robes of hers. I swear I caught her glaring at my son in disgust. Yes, it's true, she is as nasty as they come. And she's a demon to boot. Doesn't surprise me. In order to protect them.
So we got some interesting lore there, in that she's talking about how we now learn who that woman was that the inhabitants are defending. Maiden Estrella is her name, and they defend her in thinking she came here for compassion. She's not convinced. She says she's a demon and she's actually nasty at heart. Who do we believe? It's up to the player to decide. So she does sell black turpentine, which we want, because that's a very strong spell buff. We don't have enough souls, so let's get some more souls.
Curses, I wasted my breath on you. Did that witch send you to torment me?
Referring to Estrella again. But hey, we're gonna shop. We just need more souls. So let's use these souls. We got 4 of these. Again, I have to use them one at a time. Buy some black turpentine. And let's see here. Actually, we'll use this one too. And one more. And then we'll buy as much black turpentine as we can.
Please.
There we go. We buy 8.
Finished already? My little one is a growing boy. Please be generous.
So she keeps referencing her little boy. Some people think that's Patches, and Patches does reference his mother, but again, no way to really know. Kind of a cheap trap there. It's kind of hard not to get hit by that, but it doesn't do that much damage. And this is the first time we find a giant depraved one. Now, it's interesting they've put him in a location that will have you naturally fight him on this narrow ledge, but a savvy player can realize, oh, if I lure him into this building, it's going to be much safer. So they're kind of hoping the player can use their own wits to kind of make the best of the situation. They're not trying to force feed you a solution there, and I kind of like that. I think games should treat their players with respect and assume they can figure things out on their own. And this enemy is not too dangerous. His attacks are really slow. They're really telegraphed. You can just roll through them. So let's see what happens when you try to block. You can block him, but it takes a lot of stamina. The camera's freaking out there. But yeah, this is still a non-upgraded steel shield, so shields are really good in this game. Non-upgraded. And we can still use it very effectively. So yeah, this enemy's not that dangerous once you just kind of don't get intimidated by his size. It's really easy to roll through his attacks. You can even block, even with a non-upgraded shield, with fairly low stamina. Oh, and this room has a bunch of enemies in it. You got to jump on them. This guy's in the corner trying to cause a trap. But we're fine. Now, one thing you might have noticed so far. No shortcuts. This level does not have any shortcuts. It's one of the only levels in the game that doesn't. The other level off the top of my head that also doesn't is 1-2 with Tower Knight. But remember, I mentioned how that level's a straight shot and a pretty short level. This level really isn't. This level has a lot of enemies. It's got winding paths. There's a lot of gravity, cliffs you could die on. This is this is probably the only level in this game where it's a fairly lengthy level with no shortcut whatsoever. So there's a lot of tension on the boss battle. But we'll see why that is. Take care of these guys. Again, another trap. Okay. Use our shield on these. Oh yeah, I got poison. That's right. We got poison. Use our shield for these guys. Makes them quite easy. And we'll try to roll through him. Yep, even on this narrow passageway. You can just roll through his attacks. Demon Souls, your roll has quite a bit of invincibility. So the combat mechanics are pretty strong in this game. You can roll through pretty much anything. Just like the other games. You don't need to roll. Like, honestly, you don't need to roll that much in Demon Souls, as we've seen so far. The game is mostly puzzle-based in how it functions. But the rolling is still very strong. You can roll right through attacks. So now we're at the boss. Let's have our full moon grass ready. How many? We have quite a bit of it. And we don't need Royal Lotus for this. Cling Ring won't do anything for us because we are in body form. We'll click the Clever Rat's Ring because why not? And we don't need that. Alright, so this is a boss I'm not particularly fond of. But let's see what happens. I have mostly nothing but complaints about this boss. In a lot of ways, it's just badly designed, badly made. Not even really designed, but badly made. And also, it's again very puzzle-based to an extreme extent. Now, if we're down here where we can hit him, we lose HP over time, which isn't a big deal. Now, if you just stand here, he will only do one attack. If he'll show it. Actually, let's put other grass on our hotbar. Actually, he'll do nothing, I guess. So let's go near him. Let's heal up. See if he does an attack. Alright, there's a punch. Alright, swings around. Not really doing much. Oh, okay. Alright, he got me. Let's see what he does. Okay. So yeah, it's not a whole lot going on here. Not a whole lot going on here. Alright, so let's use Black Turpentine, right? Because this is actually a situation I like, because there's nothing that's really told us to use fire damage yet, but a savvy player could have enough common sense to realize, hey, he's Leechmonger, he's a pile of leeches. Fire damage probably makes sense, so let's use fire damage. And oh my god. Yeah, it does a lot of damage. Now, let's see what he does. So yeah, he heals. His main mechanic is he can heal himself. And there you go. Yeah, not a whole lot going on there. Now, if I did less damage, that still would have worked out the same way. But here's a few of the problems with that boss. If your damage is really low, it can become hopeless because he can out-heal your damage. But other than that, it's not a problem. But his attacks are just really kind of, I don't know how to describe it. They're just not very well designed. Like, he's really slow and lethargic. His attacks don't hit very hard. It's just there's really just not a lot going on with this boss. It's just a very boring kind of boss. And there's not a whole lot of interesting things actually going on there. You know what, let's just continue to the next level. Yeah, I honestly don't have much to say about Leechmonger. It's really not a good boss. And a lot of his hitboxes on his attacks are very questionable. We didn't really see that, but I guess you'll have to take my word for it. Again, that's a boss I'm really never have liked. Just very basic, very uninteresting, not very creative. Not one of my favorites. Alright, so let's go to the next level now. We did the upper part of Blighttown, now we're at the bottom part of Blighttown, or you could say Valley of Defilement. Now we're going to actually head to the base of the valley into the swamp. So now we're into the bottom swamp area. So yeah, Dark Souls Blighttown is very strictly based on Valley of Defilement. Now we're in the second level of this world, so the enemies have more HP. And the game also wants to prepare us, so there's more Royal Lotus here to heal our poison. Actually, let's put that back on our quick bar. Put our normal stuff here again. Put that away for now. Now, the one difference between this and the other games, different than Dark Souls 1, is you can't roll in this swamp. So that can make this very dangerous. But there's, again, puzzle-based design. If you know what to do, it's actually not a problem at all. Actually, we're going to grab this item. If you know what to do, the difficulty goes way down. Regenerator's Ring, there's a really, obvious reason they put that there. To combat the poison damage. So they're already kind of trying to tell you, hey, don't worry about being poisoned, just deal with it. Here's even a Regenerator's Ring to help you with that. So the main thing about this level is, if you simply know where to go, how to avoid confrontation, Thief Ring, knowing the level layout, the level actually becomes very easy. A lot of players really struggle with this level because it can be easy to get lost, you can get trapped with enemies in awkward positions. But once you know the level layout, you know what to do, you can just kind of stroll through it. Again, it's puzzle-based design, not really combat-oriented. But again, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about in Tower of Latria. Maybe not so great in terms of game mechanics side of things, gameplay design, but in terms of world building, this is great. Like, this really feels desolate, it feels dark and depressing. Like, you really get into that vibe here. If there was a bunch of enemies all over right now, you probably wouldn't get that feeling. Because you'd be too distracted, it'd be too intense. They kind of want this vibe of loneliness, of desolation. Where you look into the darkness, the rain, enemies off in the distance. It kind of works. I think it's really good, really well done. Now, on repeated playthroughs, this level's not the most fun to go through again, but on first playthroughs, it's great. So I guess it depends what you value more. And with the Thief Ring, we can just kind of stealth around here. Yeah, you can just avoid all the enemies. It's such a big open area that it really encourages it. And I think that's what they were going for. We sneak over here. Now that is another Thief Ring there, so we're not going to bother picking that up. Because we already... Actually, you know what? I will, because there's an important reason why this is here. Again, I was just saying how the level's so open, it seems like they're trying to encourage stealthy kind of maneuvers. The fact there's a Thief Ring there really encourages that. So yeah, I think it was definitely by design that they wanted the player to use their wits, avoid enemies, and simply master the level design itself. Master the layout. And not simply try to kill everything. I think that's really cool. That's something you could say is kind of lost in the newer games. I think in the newer games, they typically do want you to fight more, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because the combat was expanded, but it is kind of something that makes this game more unique in that regard, and I think it's pretty interesting. You see slug enemies. There's an optional area over there, but we're not going to bother with that. That is for a secret, unique item, but not something we're going to use. But again, it is important to keep note, there are a lot of optional paths, even in Demon Souls, secret little items and stuff. Not really our main focus of this playthrough, but it is something to mention in terms of the design. Even in this game, there's a lot of secrets, hidden paths, and whatnot. That's kind of the world tendencies thing. We haven't really talked about world tendency too much, and character tendency, and there's a reason why. Those are more obscure mechanics that are not really something first-time players are really going to see or experience. So maybe if I ever made a more in-depth, maybe more for experienced player point of view, we could maybe go into that. But this is more of a general, fundamental game design perspective, which is honestly more important. But yeah, those things not quite as a big a deal. And that guy's very tanky. He casts a poison spell on us. Kind of silly, honestly, that he casts a poison attack on us when most players are definitely going to be already poisoned. But that's okay. Heal up, and here's that merchant again.
Hey, I know you. Won't you buy something? My poor child is sick. He needs your help.
Keeps mentioning your child.
This place? It's a proper mound of rubbish. All the rot of the world, living or not, ends up here. I thank the stars that I still have my boy. Ever since that demon witch came here, everything has turned foul. This was a much better place before she came. I was the apple of every man's eye. You're here to rid us of her, aren't you? Well, Don't show it any mercy.
Now, there's a lot of interesting things we just got told there.
Thanks.
So on one hand, it's sure that she does kind of show that she might be jealous. You know, she used to be the woman, the eye of every man's eye, or whatever she said. Sorry, I butchered it. But, so, you know, maybe some bias is in play in her dialogue, but she does talk about how things used to be so much better, and that she is a demon, so that would make sense.
Finished already? I only want my dear boy to be happy.
And did we get any more soul items, besides boss souls? Got one new one.
Please buy another. For the poor child. The poor child.
She's really pushing that. It probably isn't true, right? Buy 3 of those.
Finished already. I only...
Okay. So that, from her perspective, she's definitely trying to say that this person, Manistray, who she's really trying to hammer on, she is a demon, made this place much worse. Because that's not the type of thing that, you know, Astrea would lead you to believe, right? Because the people of this place seem to think of her compassion. But at the same time, if you look around, it doesn't seem like things are so great, right? So we'll get a better picture of this when we get to that boss. Now let's cure our poison. We made our way to the back of the shanty town. And we're being ambushed. So yeah, again, a lot of enemies being thrown at us. There we go. This guy didn't even know what was going on. Took the backstab. Yeah, enemies are everywhere here. It really feels like they live here, right? Like, this guy was just kind of chilling at just where he sits, right? So it really feels like a lived-in place, which is really interesting. Like, yeah, they have their own little huts and stuff. I think that's really nice. I think that's really interesting. Lots more enemies. Another shaman guy who casts poison. There we go. Now, we're going to backtrack a bit because we mentioned a lot how the last level was an exception that had no shortcut. This level actually has a very forgiving shortcut, which I guess makes sense because it can take a long time to trek through this level, especially if you don't know your way around it. But for the first time in the game, we're actually going to use magic. We're going to use this ranged attack. We actually unequipped the catalyst for the first time because these bugs are actually really hard to deal with only melee. But they have very little health, so you can take care of them just like this. And yes, these mosquitoes are almost the exact same type of mosquito enemy from Dark Souls 1. So again, there's this area, Valley of Defilement and Blighttown, are very much like, you could basically say Blighttown is a remake of Valley of Defilement in pretty much every way. So if you like Demon Souls, then Dark Souls 1 would probably be right up your alley too. A lot of the same type of structure. This guy's sneaking around the corner. There we go. And we continue over here. And we got a few more. Again, a lot of enemies. It's a big difference between this level and many others. Definitely different than World 3 and even World 4. World 4 has enemies, but they're usually in smaller numbers but more dangerous. This level throws enemies at you all the time, which I like. I like more enemies. I like combat. And another gecko. Chunk of Faith Stone. So if we wanted to make a faith weapon, this is where you'd go. Legendary Soldier Soul. And there's the shortcut. So now if we die, we can continue the whole level again right from the start. We'd be perfectly fine. Now we're going to put Black Turpentine on our bar. Because again, it seems like the enemies here are weak to fire. That's kind of the trend. So in World 2, the enemies were weak to piercing and magic. In this level, they're weak to fire and slashing. So yeah, they're trying to encourage different damage types, which I think is cool. It can reward players who are being very savvy about trying different options. It kind of rewards flexibility. It depends how you look at it. In one aspect, it's really cool for rewarding players who have flexibility, who are trying everything. But at the same time, it can maybe feel punishing to players who are trying to specialize and play a preferred play style. So I guess it depends what you value more. I would say the other Souls games are more favoring specialists than anything. Maybe not so much in Demon Souls, though. Although, again, it's not that punishing. If you go pure magic, for example, in this game, you'll be totally fine. Pure melee, you'll be totally fine. So it's not the end of the world. Alright, so let's go in here. And I like that there's no cutscene for this boss, and don't need it. So this is Dirty Colossus, who's now spread his dirt onto us, so we lose life over time. Quite a bit, in fact. So we're going to go behind him and heal. He has an AoE explosion, but it's really slow. If you saw that, it's very slow. And yeah, he takes a lot of damage from a +8 longsword with black turpentine on it. So again, this is another boss that's not very good. Basically, if you stay behind him, he'll never hit you. And you just kind of stay behind him like this. Again, not the best boss. It's very basic. Again, more puzzle than action. You just kind of stay behind him. Now, occasionally, he'll shoot random shots out of his body that just have no warning, no tell, they just go at you. Hopefully we see one. If it'll happen, maybe it won't happen. Did he lose sight of us? My goodness. So, there you go. Demon Souls. Can we sneak up on him? Wow. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. Yeah, very puzzle designed, you could say. Oh my goodness. Wow. I've actually never seen this before. So there, we learned something on this new game design playthrough. Stay behind him. You can even lose aggro. Well, there you go. So I know someone might be thinking, well, didn't you want to analyze this boss? There's really not too much to analyze with that boss. It really is a matter of simply staying behind him and hitting him a lot. I know that might sound reductive and maybe sound like I'm not giving the boss enough credit, but again, I would say one of Demon Souls' weak points is in the action side of things. From an action gameplay perspective, it is much more lacking than a lot of the other games. Especially the newer ones, like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. Now, there was one mechanic that I didn't want to show, but I didn't get to show it, but again, it's not a very good mechanic. It's about how he'll shoot random black shots of dirt out of himself from any direction at any time. And they come out pretty quick, and they can be somewhat hard to dodge if you're not expecting it. Now, from what I understand, he only does that once all his armor on his body's broken. The reason why I'm not a big fan of that mechanic, it's not explained, like, there's no real logical sense to that. How would a player know that? And breaking his armor just kind of happens naturally by fighting him. So it pretty much seems like the random shots just always happen. It's not really explained well. Those attacks aren't really telegraphed. It's the only mechanic of that fight, and it's not a very good one. So another boss that I'm not particularly a fan of.
Go forth, Garl Vinland. May you be unharmed. Leave us, Slayer of Demons. This is a sanctuary for the lost and wretched. There is nothing here for you to pillage or plunder. Please, leave quietly.
So again, pretty interesting. She's simply saying, leave us alone. You know, these people were, you know, it's bad enough. Just leave us alone. There's nothing here for you. Now, in one aspect, she knows that that's not true about there be nothing here to pillage or plunder. She calls us a Slayer of Demons. She knows we're after Demon Souls. So she knows we're here to kill her because she has a powerful demon soul. So that implies either one, she thinks we're stupid, or two, probably the more likely thing is she doesn't think we know she's a demon, so she's being very manipulative. So again, maybe a reason not to trust her, and we do know she's a demon because we were told, but again, it's possible we didn't talk to that character, but a savvy player could deduce this. And again, the reason why these people defend her is because they feel that she came to help them and save them. But at the same time, I don't know, does it really look like this is a great place? Has she really helped them? It's hard to say. Again, the merchant lady says that things used to be even better than they are now. So it's really not, it's curious. What do you believe? Did she help make things better, or is she taking advantage of the situation? Chunk of faint stone. Now, there's a lot of different ways to beat this boss. One of the simplest and easiest ways is from right here. You can actually snipe her with arrows, and she will try to heal herself to survive, but she can't cast healing infinitely. So you can whittle her down with arrows and kill her just like this. You can basically assassinate her, then you never have to deal with Garl Vinland, who's over there. These guys will try to stop you. If you do that, you can simply kill them before you start doing that. So that's the easiest and simplest way to deal with this. We'll do it the hard way. We'll fight Garl Vinland. And Garl isn't where he normally is. This isn't good. Uh-oh. This is going to make it much more difficult that he's in the swamp. He's not slowed by the swamp.
You will not turn back. I shall let no harm come to dearest destroyer. May you rot in the deepest depths of this swamp.
We switch to a scout. Let's see if we can block this. We can. He tried to parry us. Let's buff. He has a ton of magic resistance, not as much fire resistance. Oh, this is gonna be a problem. Okay, blocking with a +0 shield, probably not the best idea. If I had upgraded my shield, it might have been a better idea. So we'll try to roll. Oh, that's not rolling. So yeah, Garl can be dangerous, especially when you have to fight him like this. Normally you want to fight him up above. Uh-oh. We are in deep trouble now. Oh, we are dead. Look at that. We should defend our hearth and home to the death. So yeah, Garl Vinland. So now we have to fight him in soul form, which is good. So the main thing about that is, yeah, he can move in the swamp. He doesn't get plagued. So there's a huge terrain, I guess you could say terrain-based advantage there that the player has to deal with. So now we'll show how there's an easier way to go about this. There's a way where you don't have to fight him in such a dangerous location. It makes the fight much easier. So we try again. And the very forgiving, no run back for this boss. So if you immediately go left, instead of checking out the other location, come over here, and now he's standing right here. We can fight him at this spot. Now obviously if you fight him here, you don't have to worry about getting thrown into the plague swamp. Roll through, and backstab. And now after you backstab him, he'll try to return to his location to protect Maiden Estrella, because that's his main concern. So when he turns around, you can backstab him again. And then repeat. And repeat again. Swing. Oh, he hit the wall. And just like that, he's dead.
I have failed you.
So that's the simplest way to deal with him. And you can get his equipment, which we'll look at later. And now let's check out this area. Got our souls back. So we see these... They appear to be demon fetuses in this plague swamp. Try to lure some more. Yep, and they swim towards you. And they do try to kill you. We saw that corpse getting sucked underneath. I'm trying to lure them over without getting plagued myself. Got the plague. Wait, do I have my Widow's Lotus on the ready? I do not. Oh, they got closer. There we. Oh, we have quite a bit of it. If I could get it. As we almost die. I don't think they come as this far over. Trying to be very careful here. Because these things are very dangerous. You see what they attack with? They have sharpened umbilical cords protruding out of their stomach. And that's what they attack with. Yeah, it's pretty effed up. Not even gonna mince words. It's pretty dark. Pretty twisted. But it gets even worse. It gets even worse as we approach Mandistrad. So it appears that the bottom of her skirt is very bloody and seeping into the plague swamp. And then also Garlvin Land was here with her. And then there's demon fetus babies in the plague swamp. And they're literally called plague babies. Maybe implying that they are what's poisoning the swamp itself. Dark Soul Cell, the purified dark mouse. It protects the user from all types of spells. Does Garl's armor give us any more information? Not quite. But yeah, I think you can get the implication of what might be going on here. Yeah, it's pretty twisted. So, let's talk to Mandistrad.
You killed him, didn't you? Very well. I can no longer resist you. Do as you like. Take your precious demon soul.
And she kills herself. She kills herself only if you kill Garlvin Lan and talk to her. So it seems like she maybe does it out of grief. Or maybe out of sign of defeat. Now, there's two different ways you could take this. It's up to the players to interpret it. Were her and Garl really here for the better of these people? And you, out of your own naivete, killed them and doomed this place to an even worse fate? Or was the old lady merchant correct in that these two came here to take advantage of these poor people, and that she was actually making it worse once she got corrupted by the demon soul? Up to you to decide. Bring a sincere prayer. There's really I don't think there's any way to know for certain, but I think those are the only two real outcomes, and I think both of them have merit, just how you view it. So that'll be the end of this episode of Demon Souls in Design. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.